Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 602 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Clayton Lowe. And if you want to hear a story about how to get more chiropractors involved into the profession, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today we have Clayton Lowe coming in from Winterset, Iowa. If you guys didn't know, I'm originally from Iowa too, so this is a really cool Iowa connection. 602 episodes. We've been doing this for 6.5 years, and my tone of my message has shifted over time. The past 3 years made me go in and say, what is our big why? Well, our big why is this: protecting freedom of speech. I think you've all seen that infringed upon, our First Amendment. So Chiro Hustle protects freedom of speech, and we allow practitioners to speak their voice and to share their uniqueness and what makes them special. Second, we know that chiropractic is essential to medical freedom and family health freedom. If you do not have a chiropractor that's taking care of you and your family, please contact us through our website. We'll help you find somebody to protect your medical freedom and the integrity of your family health freedom. We also get a bit more philosophical, which I really love about our show, because a lot of times people think that chiropractic is just the adjustment, which it is, but it's also the philosophy behind the adjustment. And if you want to learn more about that, go check out the show notes on our show, which we'll be talking about BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. We protect the sacred trust with this show because we tell the story. A few years back, actually 11 years or so, I saw this guy speak on stage. We were talking about people inspiring us speaking on stage earlier. And I saw this guy speak on stage and he said, tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. So here we are, Dr. Joe, we're telling the story.
Yep.
And that is protecting the sacred trust, which is telling the story. And I know we're going to talk about education. And I know Dr. Lowe works with Cleveland University, and he's going to talk about why he wants to tell the story. But as we develop this interview process today, some historical references and some reference points are essential for us to discuss at the beginning of this intro, and that's subluxation-centered chiropractic, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. And that's our intro. If you have more questions about what those topics mean, go check out the show notes to episode 601, and you're going to learn more about chiropractic than you previously did. I guarantee you, especially if you don't know what the sacred trust is. Please go to the show notes and check that out. So, Dr. Clayton, welcome to the show. You're episode 602.
Awesome. Glad to be here. This is kind of fun.
So this is Dr. Clayton's first podcast, so I'm really excited to have you on and to give you the platform to share your story. Okay. And 25 years ago, you decided that chiropractic was the right path for you. Yep. So talk to us. How did you decide that chiropractic was what you wanted to do?
Well, it kind of started in the sense where I graduated from Kansas State University with a degree in biochemistry, and I couldn't really find a job then. I mean, in mid-90s, really couldn't find a job or anything like that. And so I went to the local junior college and took an aptitude test. And top of the list was chiropractic, and I went, I had been to a chiropractor before. I had some injuries, some sports injuries and such. And I go, well, let me look into it. And, it is drug-free, surgery-free. And that kind of fit with my mindset at the time and still does. And I kind of go, So I talked around to one of my family friends, and he referred me to Cleveland chiropractic college then in Kansas City, and got to talking to them, and rest is I enrolled and started in January 1995, and then graduated in 98.
So 25 years of practice. I know you just mentioned before we started that you sold your practice to go and work with Cleveland University.
Right. Yeah.
So 25 years, man. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, there were some challenges throughout that. I mean, there's always going to be challenges in life and everything. But the nice thing about it is chiropractic doesn't have to change a whole lot. We go in, we take care of our patients with the adjustment. We do analysis of x-rays and things like that. We build that rapport for 25 years, and then, or for however long you practice. And I was kind of blessed, I had low overhead right from the beginning. And so I didn't have to, worry so much about like student loans and things like that, which some people are worrying about now. But I was able to make a pretty good living. I mean, I did it for 25 years, and I got to the point where I wanted to do something more for the profession. And then when Cleveland approached me about the opportunity that I'm doing now, it was more of a family discussion. Do we want to keep doing this, or do we want to do this? And so that was and the kids say, Dad, just follow your dream. Do what you think is right. And my wife was 100% supportive, and yeah, it was great.
So let's talk about this. I know one of the topics you wanted to tackle today was getting more chiropractors involved with the future of chiropractic.
Correct.
And I was actually, somebody turned the conversation around me earlier and asked me like what I saw as the next 20 years of the profession. So I answered that. And I could go into that a little bit more with you as we have our conversation, but what is your message to chiropractors to get more involved with the future of chiropractic?
Talk to your schools, talk to your patients. We all have great number of young people that are in high school and college that come to us that, would be great chiropractors. Instead, they're thinking about going into PT or OT, which are great professions. Don't discount them at all. But if they wanted to be able to do more, have them go into, have them check out chiropractic, at least have them look into it. By getting involved with your schools, either locally or the ones you went to, find out what they're doing and what they're teaching and why they do the things that they do, and have those conversations so you feel confident. Don't just go off what you hear. I mean, that's the worst way to get your information is, go get that information directly from the source, so to speak. And when I'm speaking to alumni of Cleveland University, Kansas City, it's, they have one idea what's going on, but when I talk to them, they find out that it's really not how they perceived things to be, like weak on philosophy or anything like that. And the philosophy at Cleveland really hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 25 years. Dr. Cleveland, he's been there the whole time, and his message has never wavered. And so that's kind of, he wants to keep up with the times in a sense. He doesn't want us, so he's doing more things. It might seem that way, but the message of chiropractic is still the same. I mean,
yeah, I had this talk earlier, and I'll just fill in some gaps. And it was, if people don't like the direction of where chiropractic is going, then they need to get involved with the schools.
Right. Exactly. And I thought teaching was going to be my thing, and I applied for a teaching position on several schools, and that didn't work out. But this opportunity of going out and talking to other schools, universities like Texas or Iowa or wherever, and talking to those students about what chiropractic actually is kind of eye-opening. A lot of them have no idea what we do. I'd say 90% of the students, when I go into a classroom or go talk to a club or anything like that, they have no idea what chiropractic is. I mean, they know what their local chiropractor does, takes care of my back or takes care of my headaches. But when you break it down and you say, hey, as Joe Borio was always saying, what's in here? It's your brain, right? What's it do? It takes care of everything, right? So if that can't talk to the body, is the body going to work as well as it should? And every student in every classroom around the country that I've visited, they go, no. I says, well, then why not take care of it? And then we get into more detail about some of the fun things about chiropractic and sports and everything else. But yeah.
So really curious, do you have them go and do that same aptitude test that you did?
I wish. I don't even know if that aptitude test exists anymore. I mean, it was like 100 and some questions. It was really kind of bizarre. I mean, they had chiropractic was number one, a firefighter number two, a teacher number three, and I don't think I could see myself running into a burning building. Now, I was younger then. I might be able to do it then, but now, not so much. But yeah, it was kind of fun to take that test. But those are the top three, and then medical doctor and eye doctor and.
So you're supposed to be a doctor.
Supposed to be a doctor, teacher of some sort. Yeah.
Well, I think we should dust off that aptitude test and start sending that out to more people so we can find people's path to create them futures in chiropractic.
Exactly. I mean, that would be great. I think a lot of it would be because a lot of these kids come out of school and they really don't even know what they're going to do. No. I mean, they're getting a degree in like kinesiology or biology or something to that effect, but after they get the degree, they really don't know what they want to do. And it's very similar to where I was, 30 years ago. God, that's a long time ago. 30 years ago, I graduated with my biochemistry degree. Had no clue. I had no clue what that kind of degree would help me get a job in. And my first job after I graduated was working at a beef packing plant in the quality control lab. And that lab was right above the rendering part of the plant. And so I just stunk all the time. I mean, it was pretty bad. And then, but I worked there for probably 6 months and decided, yeah, this isn't for me. And so moved on and, and I've had other odd jobs throughout it. I worked at an oil alley, we're changing oil in cars and then worked at a ski resort there at Copper Mountain for a season. And that was fun. But when I took that aptitude test, it kind of helped me focus, and it helped me go, this is what I need to work on. So talking to those students, you kind of go, okay, now what's the next thing you need to do, right? So you're taking these classes. Are they the right classes? Even, if you want to get into PT or OT school, there's certain classes that you have to take. Some of them are very similar to what we take as prerequisites in the chiropractic school, but and that really hasn't changed a whole lot in the 25 years I've been practicing. I mean, it's still so much science and so much humanities and things of that nature. So, yeah.
So let's talk practice building.
Okay.
What worked for you? What didn't work for you? And what would you recommend to the next generation of chiropractors to get involved with?
Outside marketing never worked for me, to be honest. I kind of had a chiropractic office in a sense where I try to build it from within, inside out. And so, because I never did a screening or anything to that nature. Now I would go do talks, to various groups like the quilt group or what, church groups or things to that nature. And those were fine, but they never really produced a lot of patients. I was a team chiropractor for our local high school. So I helped on the football field, did that for about 10 years and not 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. And that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of recognition in town, being the sports guy, and I got my CCSP years ago. and everything. And, that knowledge is great and it never can be taken away from you. But, some things have changed, how they approach things, like we used to do with the old athletic tape, and now it's all kinesio tape. I'd love to get more involved in that. But that's kind of how I got known. But I would talk to people, the groups I was involved with or whatever, and kind of get those patients to stimulate conversations to bring in their family members, bring in their boss or their coworker or whatever. And that seemed to help me grow more than anything, and, it made it easy now too, because my overhead was so low that I didn't really have to worry about extra costs, in a sense that I always thought it was kind of silly to, put a phone book ad. We don't have those anymore. Now you have Facebook, and that's mostly free anyway. So, that messaging on Facebook and Instagram, that helps. Get somebody to help you with that. My daughter was a public relations major in college, and so for one of her school projects, she made a program for me. Got an A on it and everything, and then we implemented it, and it helped. I mean, having somebody else in charge of your social media so you're not doing it all the time really does help.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle. Yeah, I am always curious about marketing. I'm always curious about practice building. And I'm sure that there's going to be something that you said there that's going to help some chiropractor that's listening to the show eventually. And I think going back to that, I'm just really curious, do you think that the future of chiropractic is going to be on social media when it comes to marketing and branding and building practices?
Somewhat. I don't think it's going to be solely on that. It's going to be solely dependent upon the doctor, and if the doctor gets people better. We all want that end result. It doesn't matter if you're seeing 1,000 people a week. If less than half are getting better, well, that's still good, but they're not going to refer to you. I had an average to above average practice. I wasn't seeing huge numbers. The most I've ever seen in a day is 95. But the biggest thing for me is that conversation. And Joe Borio, if anybody ever gets a chance to listen to him and how he speaks to his patients, when he's speaking to chiropractors, he's kind of a wise guy. I love him. But speaking to his patients, he's probably one of the best communicators, and he's got it toned down or fine-tuned to the point where they understand, at least for a little while, why you should see a chiropractor. And other groups out there too have those messaging points also. It's just practicing those points and practicing those procedures. Consistency is a key, right? And so doing all those consistent things week in, week out, day in, day out is going to help your practice grow. Being consistent. When a patient walks in your room and lays down on your table, they have to know what to expect, from day one. And the best way to do that is good referrals and living up to that expectation each time.
So people tell and results sell.
Yes.
I know this probably isn't like a question for me or a question for you even, but it's more for the audience. Over your course of practice, What were the 3 things that most people were interested in before they went forward with care?
Could I help? And I would say 90% of the time that was answered in a wholeheartedly yes. You know, probably more than 90%, but I'm just going to say 90%. I would say, how long is it going to take? Right. And then how much is it going to cost? Those are the 3 things. Right. And so if you take care of them, but it's going to take 10 years to take care of them, they're not going to stick with you. Or if it's going to cost, $50,000 or whatever, they're still not going to come in. But the great thing about chiropractic is it is affordable. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's not so bad," and I go, "Okay, here's analysis. If you're talking about costs, if you're worried about that $50 each time or whatever it is, each time you go into your chiropractor, okay, and you say you have health insurance that covers the back, let's say back surgery, right? And so I says, okay, the average cost of a back surgery, this has been about 10 years ago, I think the number probably hasn't changed much, is $50,000, okay, for easy numbers. Okay, and your health insurance is going to cover up to your deductible. And nowadays, most people have a high deductible plan, $5,000 to $10,000. So that's your deductible. That's what you have to pay. Okay, good. So now if you go to a chiropractor, it's $50 a visit. Over the course of the year, you're probably going to spend $2,500. Yes, it's $2,500, but it's $50 each time, or $200 a week, or whatever, or a month. That's more affordable, and it's less than your deductible. So why are you arguing with us about the cost of things when you're more willing to go to get back surgery that doesn't work 9 out of 10 times? Or you're going to come to a chiropractor where we have success 9 out of 10 times. So that's when I talk to people in my community, and they were always quick to go do a surgery, and then they'd be back in my office, and I'd go, okay, so now you're willing to listen. Sometimes it takes that willingness to let them go, do that, and then they'll be back.
Oof, man, life lessons there. One of my buddies, Patrick Smith, would always tell me, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
Yep.
Someone's waiting. And, I worked in a clinic for 6 years. A lot of people that watch the show know that I was actually worked in an office, and then I went out and I did what you didn't like to do. I did 600 spinal screenings in 36 months. I was doing 28 spinal screenings a month for two and a half straight years. So I'm always curious as how people build their practices, because I'm a hired gun. Like, if somebody wants to go get 50 new patients on a weekend, they hire me. I go out, I deploy chiropractic ninja, and I go out there and I get them a bunch of people that they can take care of and build their practice with. And I always love it. That's why I kind of teed that up for you, because people are only interested in 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me? How much is it going to cost? And how long do I have to come see you? Mm-hmm. And if you can produce a message that makes sense to your group of people that you're taking care of, they're going to tell everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
then they're going to bring their families in. And then the next thing you know, you don't have to go out and hire me to go do your screenings for you, because now you have a self-fulfilling practice that people know that you're a straight shooter. You're going to tell them what it costs, how long it's going to take, and if you can help them or not. And if we can encapsulate those 3 messages into the future of chiropractic with the future chiropractors, now we have a winning scenario for people to go out there and build a practice.
Right. I mean, that's 100% fact.
It's never going to change.
No. And it still doesn't even change. It doesn't even matter what profession you're in. If you talk to your auto mechanic, and he says he can fix your truck or whatever, and you go, okay, well, how long is it going to take? So how much, right? That's always a big thing. And you go, all right, do it. And if the problem still is there, one, you're never going to go back to that mechanic.
You're going to tell 10 people too that they sucked.
Yeah. There's always going to be a lot of people to agree with you when somebody doesn't do a good job. My father-in-law, when I first started practice years ago, he was an old Iowa farmer, and he very wise man. wise beyond his years. And he said, Clay, you need to take care of 10 people, that first 10 people. And that 10 people will tell 10 people, and so forth and so on. And I went, okay. He says, yeah, but you treat one wrong, they'll tell 100. And so I've always kind of had that in my mindset. People are more willing to spread bad news about something than they ever will about good news. And I think that's one of the things that kind of holds us back as chiropractors is we're always concerned about the bad news instead of saying, okay, let's talk about our victories. Let's let the communities know. Heck, we helped this one patient for 25 years recover from her stroke that she had the year prior to me starting practice. And she was pretty lame at that time. And we got her to the point where she didn't need a cane, didn't need the brace on her leg to walk. And then we never totally got her 100% recovery, but we created a new 100% for her, right? And then as she's aged, things started happening to where age was the victor there. And when we had to tell her to put that brace back on, as maddest woman I ever saw. I mean, she was mad at us. And I go, I can't help the fact that you're now 10 years older. I mean, it's just not, it's just one of those things. But she was one of those people that when she interviewed me for the local paper, and after that talk interview with her, she became a patient. And, being solid on our principles and things like that help. I mean, I remember 25 years ago when I was still in school, but I came to an Iowa Chiropractic Society meeting up in Ames. And one of my good friends, he took me up there to kind of introduce me to everybody in our district. And they had an outside speaker, orthopedic surgeon on shoulders there. And, they presented how this rotator cuff repair worked. And he had the camera and you could see everything, right? And it was really kind of cool seeing how they did that, right? Blow it up with water and everything. And after his talk, he goes, well, I want to ask you guys, what do you do to help shoulder injuries? And, there's a room, maybe 30, 40 chiropractors. And every chiropractor says, well, we do PT, we do this and all that kind of stuff. And me being young and dumb, and it might have been the best thing for me, he got to me. I says, well, I haven't started a whole lot of practice, but I adjust it. and then everybody goes, oh yeah, we adjust it too. And I says, well, you don't apparently, because you have to be convinced the adjustment is enough a lot of times. And, PT and things like that help. They do. But sometimes all you really need is that adjustment and taking that pressure off the joint and taking that pressure off those nerves does more good than anybody will ever say. And I'll go to my graves with that, because there ain't nothing, it's just the way it is.
There's no secondary adjustment. It's only the primary adjustment. And right. I think that a lot of times people don't realize that the degradation of their lifestyle is because of lack of motion and lack of stability. And if they just learned better principles of life with chiropractic as a lifestyle, they would learn that you can restore motion and you can restore stability and functionality with the chiropractic lifestyle. And it's not a cost, and it's not how long this is going to take. It's your investment. And when people realize that you invest in your time and your years, and that the adjustment's always free, you pay the practitioner for their 7 years of education and their ability to have a healing art that can take a misalignment, a subluxation, and remove that subluxation, allowing the body to go back to the big clinical word homeostasis, which is the balance of health. And if a chiropractor can do that time after time after time after time, whether it's stage 3 degeneration and C6, C7, where there's some osteophytes, and adjust that segment, take the pressure off those nerves going to the arm, letting that arm chill out, making the shoulder improve by doing that too. And like you said, a lifetime of poor lifestyle management will result in a long-term disability. But if you manage that with a chiropractor long-term, now you're going to have less of a chance of a long-term disability. And I think a lot of times if people just knew that whatever was going on, if they just had their darn spine x-rayed, and if they just had some orthopedic tests and some exams done, and they were actually able to get checked by a chiropractor, their life would improve, not overnight, but it would take time, and it would take an investment, and it would take a relationship, and it would take to get to know that person's physiology as who they are better. And then they could see what chiropractic could do for them. And I think that that's what we just have to get back to. It's not how can we fix something that's broken, but how can we build the relationship and be that port of entry for that person that needs chiropractic, that just didn't know it was called chiropractic.
Right. I mean, I can't tell you how many times over the years somebody says, well, how come we can't just do it in one adjustment? I says, if I could do it in one adjustment, I'd be the busiest place in town. Two, the body just doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a reason why it takes 4 to 6 weeks for a broken bone to heal, because that's what innate does, right? Same thing with you sprain an ankle or anything like that, 4 to 6 weeks. And so when somebody would say, well, how long is it going to be before I start feeling better? And I says, typically 4 to 6 weeks. It's just the way the body heals. Now, is it going to get better immediately? No. Sometimes, yes. Most times, you probably won't notice a change. And that's why it's called an adjustment. It's a little bit at a time. If I did it all at once, you would not like it. And I just laugh at that sometimes when you see people that are going, well, I went to my chiropractor once and he adjusted it and I hadn't hurt since. Well, that's amazing. I can guarantee you that your back is still screwed up, just some amazing things there with, and I practiced a little acupuncture also, along with the sports medicine. And so we always had a lot of fun cases come through that were, challenging at times, but when the patient finally understood, hey, we're going to be doing this for a few times, they kind of were more accepting. And the really weird thing, going back to our other topic, with messaging and things like that, acupuncture for whatever reason has been more widely accepted than chiropractic, and I don't understand it when a lot of the same principles are involved. But people are more willing to have needles stuck in their body for 3 to 4 times a week than they are going to their chiropractor 3 to 4 times a week. It's always been kind of an amazing conundrum for me to try to figure out the reasons why. So
I think it's only Western culture. I think that people that realize that chiropractic is really safe, affordable, and effective, they'll never question the application or the frequency. I think it's just because of the dogmatic approach of the culture that we're all a part of, that's where the symbolism of disconnect is. Yeah. And the disconnect was started by people that wanted chiropractors to go away. And it still sticks with the stigma of the chiropractic profession in 2024. It does. So it's going to take another generation or 2 generations without further lambasting of the profession to have a course correct to where that generation of confusion and dogma dies. Yeah. So we need to perpetuate principled chiropractic and continuously do the right thing for the community and forget what people say, but just go out there and produce. And I think that's what we just need to continuously do is go produce, do your best, and get people better and save their lives from drugs and surgery.
Yes. Now, sometimes drugs and surgery are necessary, but if you have a broken bone, do not go to a chiropractor. I don't care how good you think he is. He's never going to set that bone, but
Well, Dr. Clayton, I know that we spent some time together today. We're at the edge of our interview session. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I can't think of really anything right off the top of my head. I just get when like I said earlier, want to talk to your schools. Make sure that they're still teaching the things that you learned, and if not, how can you help? I mean, when I've gone to some of our alumni throughout the Southwest here, and they're all willing to help, but they don't know how. And so, host young people in your office and tell them what chiropractic's about. Have a family night where you tell a group of families what chiropractor is about and what we do. And that's going to do more good for us than anything else in the world. I mean, it really honestly is. And, it's that small stuff, it's the pebble in the water, right? And so you don't know how much you're going to be changing somebody, a ways down the road, but you will. I mean, it's just a fact.
Well, Dr. Clayton Lowe, you are episode 602 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I thank you for being our guest today. And if people wanted to connect with you or reach out to you or learn more about Cleveland University, where do we send them to?
Well, you can go to Cleveland University and the admissions. I'm an admissions recruiter with them. So you can go on the admissions page and connect with me there. They can find me on Facebook. Obviously, they can go on Facebook and find me. But it's clayton.lowe@cleveland.edu is the email. And so that's my direct email for Cleveland, and we can get that taken care of and answer any other questions that you may have to get you started on your chiropractic journey. I mean, yeah.
Well, Dr. Clayton, I really appreciate you being our guest today, and I'll close out like I always do, and I'll tell our audience you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for now. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.